Good morning, everyone, especially to our Professor Ma'am Nina Calaka. I am Roxanne Migrafiel Daz, a PhD EM student, and your discussant for today for the topic Benefits, Challenges, Trends, and Opportunities of Internalization and Transnational Education. So let us utilize this article entitled Transnational Education in the Philippines, Opportunities and Challenges, published last December 2016 and could also be accessed at www.britishcouncil.org/education-intelligence. Primarily, let us discuss first what are those opportunities and challenges that comes with TNE, especially in the Philippines context. So our country presents a unique environment for TNE providers, as well as unique opportunities and challenges. Its economy and youth population are growing, and the Commission for Higher Education, or CHED, provides a supportive regulatory environment for internalization. Moreover, TNE is essentially defined as the provision of educational courses to students in another country from that in which the awarding institution is located. So this is basically allowing students, our own citizens, to be educated to another country with awarding institution. So the welcoming TNE regulatory environment combined with the institutionalized medium of English, the temperate climate, and the country's growing population and economy, as well as communications and digital infrastructure, make the Philippines an attractive prospect for TNE providers. So with all of these conditions and settings, Philippine setting, this makes our country very attractive to become an TNE provider. However, background research has revealed challenges that providers will need to consider, such as the poor transport infrastructure, especially given the archipelagic geography of the Philippines and its big rural population, economic inequity, and perhaps restricting visa requirements for visiting faculty and students. So this is the generalized challenges that we could encounter, or we actually must consider with this TNE. Now, what are the key findings of this study? Let us discuss them one by one. First, all the elements are in place for a receptive TNE environment in the Philippines. A growing population, especially among the youth, and economy, a high level of proficiency in English, and a good regulatory framework is in place, headed by CHED. Second, the CHED itself plays a pivotal role in the future of TNE, as well as for individual universities, higher education institutions, or HEIs, which have achieved autonomous status are thereafter granted more self-governance over their TNE activities. So they've got their freedom, self-governance with all those TNE activities that they've had. The CHED recognized higher education institutions to have this autonomy power to decide for their activities to be provided in the transnationalization of education. The demand for the TNE in the Philippines is very much present and set to grow according to institution representatives interviewed for this research, as well as the HESA and Student Insight Survey data. So several findings from these studies revealed that there is a strong demand for TNE in the Philippines, and it is growing. We must really study this, address those things that we must consider in the implementation of it to become successful. Philippine higher education institutions are not necessarily looking for top-tier UK higher education institution partners, but partners who could they collaborate with and whose requirements in terms of curriculum and faculty training may not be too stringent or inflexible. So we are not actually competing with those top universities and other UK, United Kingdom higher education institution partners. What we're looking for, for a partner is someone we could easily collaborate with. We could easily partner with, and those requirements, these qualifications, especially with the curriculum and the trainings that will be provided for the faculty for that, is not too strict and is fixed, somehow fixed. According to representatives, the main opportunities that would stem from establishing a TNE program in their higher education institution were, these are: making their people global citizens and their institution globally competitive. They would also like to see benefits for their local faculty as well, and new funding streams for their higher education institutions. So these are the several opportunities that a school could actually get with the TNE program in their curriculum. Obviously, if they will be sent, their students or faculties or any representatives to other countries, their perspective will be broadened as they become global citizens, making and meeting different races with different cultures, and that could help the institution grow globally. And another thing is that it could also be a channel for new fund sources for the higher education institution. A number of administrative and legislative challenges exist according to HEI representatives. Namely, there are not being enough trained faculty in the Philippines who could administer or teach the TNE degree or course, processes being too bureaucratic and not streamlined enough. There was also a dearth of information. The fees and infrastructure costs were also a big concern. So there are also a lot of considerations in the implementation of these. And along with these challenges includes the financial aspect, like the paying of fees and other IT and infrastructures that are quite costly. Another thing is that the bureaucratic issues as to legislative challenges, and so with other concern with administrative. In terms of delivery mode, a TNE program or degree that is delivered wholly locally would be preferable due to the perhaps unaffordable nature of living abroad for Filipinos and the reluctance to leave their homes. The study revealed, it shows how we tend to be reluctant to leave our homes, to leave our families. And so the reason that living abroad would be costly and we could not afford it. The lifestyle, the culture that we have to adapt from there. Another consideration for a TNE program, or if you would like to get a TNE degree. There is also a pervasive lack of knowledge about TNE programs, their nature and how to access them, and a more centralized system should be in place for TNE and for scholarships. Hence, a one-stop shop for potential students can obtain all the information they need about TNE and available programs. So this is a very nice idea and a very nice suggestion that is worthy of consideration, that there must be a one-stop shop for all TNE beneficiaries, like a shop where they could access all the information they need, may it pertains to the available programs or the TNE totality. Everything about it could easily be accessed in that specific one-stop shop. That is a very nice idea from this research. Another thing, prospective postgraduate TNE students value the availability of a scholarship the most when deciding on a mode of study. So we prefer to give importance as to the available scholarship program with regards to the mode of study that we would like to take. Another thing is the awarding country and its specialty in terms of fields of study. We are also concerned as to what is the awarding country and what are they good at? What are their specialty, their field of interests? The opportunity to obtain an accredited degree from an internationally recognized institution is the number one consideration for students. All were very mindful to increase their employability. TNE partners should consider stressing the reputation and accreditation of their higher education institution, and in turn, the degree that would be awarded when marketing to students. The number one concern about TNE mentioned by students were high fees and non-regulation of the TNE degree or of faculty teaching the course. So these are the challenges that somehow the battle cries of all the beneficiaries of TNE as well as with their faculties. Students would very much consider studying a TNE degree from the UK. They prefer to study in UK because they've got the reputation. A high regard for school with a good reputation is what we are always after, right? The reputation is seen as very important to students, to us, because we see that it could increase employability, the image that it could bring to us, to our records, that would be our edge when we will be seeking for employment. There is uncertainty over what fields of study will be in demand in terms of TNE. However, students are keen to study on courses that would benefit the Philippines economy and future development. And that's a good thing because TNE students are actually after with what's something they could contribute and they could be of great help in the development of our country, which is very the main goal of TNE, I guess, to help in nation building. Interest was also shown for more niche degrees or courses that were currently unavailable locally. Potential TNE partners should possibly focus in the fields of study in demand by students, those which are not currently available through local higher educational institutions. Now, we also analyzed an article from the British Council in 2015 entitled Opportunities and Challenges in the Internalization of the Philippine Higher Education Sector. So we are given here two tables, and table 1 is presenting data for globally mobile students studying in selected ASEAN countries. So we have here from year 1999 record up to 2012, and countries in ASEAN includes Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. If we could actually notice, there's no recorded mobile students who were sent for study in the country Indonesia from year 1999 up to 2004. And it is the country Philippines, actually. We are leading in 1999 in sending our students to study abroad. However, in the year 2012, in our case, Philippines, starting year 2009 up to 2012, we failed to have mobile students to be sent as beneficiaries for this TNE or Internalization of Education. And it is Malaysia who've got the highest number of globally mobile students. And look at Malaysia now. If you tend to analyze the impact of sending students abroad for a study, just take a look with the economy of these countries. So this actually is taken from UNESCO Institute for Statistics. Then we also have another table, Table 2 for globally mobile tertiary students from selected ASEAN countries. Still from data history starting from 1999 up to 2012. And still, Malaysia is the top one from 1999 and even up to present. Their country is really sending globally mobile tertiary students to different ASEAN countries. And it's very functional. We've got a very functional program for that. While Philippines were ranked the lowest, the total opposite of Malaysia. As you can notice, we've got 5,082 students compared to Malaysia that has 49,438. A difference of 44,000 approximately. And in year 2012, we've got 11,210 students, while they've got 55,579 tertiary students sent for a study abroad. That's a good thing to ponder, right? The data, the statistics that we get is very nice to reflect with, right? Still taken from UNESCO Institute for Statistics. And so we have here another figure, and here the author estimates for the Philippines are based on assessment of the legislative framework in the country and practices observed. The scores of the selected ASEAN peer countries are adapted from the British Council in the year 2014, entitled Shape of Things to Come. And we have to take note that each indicator is scored, that the scale criterion fully met if you've got 10, and 0 for criterion not met. So this summarizes the scorecard, with 10 as the highest for the TNE framework in the Philippines and its ASEAN peer group. If we could notice, Malaysia has an overall score of 8.0, which is among the highest across the 25 countries evaluated in Shape of Things to Come too. The Philippines compare well in the areas of TNE strategy and quality assurance and accreditation. Now, if with basis on the legend here, where blue indicates TNE strategy, red as quality assurance and accreditation, green as establishment of TNE operations, and yellow for recognition of TNE qualifications. However, it lags, it appears, in terms of established TNE operations, an area in which overlay tight regulation may be differing overseas that affects education and its providers from more substantial engagement with Philippine HEIs or higher education institutions. To understand it better, let us discuss this scoring criteria for the full details on the scores attained by our country, Philippines, and the ASEAN peer group, with the major criteria: regulatory environment, establishment of with the TNE strategy, establishment of TNE operations, quality assurance and accreditation, and recognition of TNE qualifications. If we've noticed, as what I've said earlier, it is Malaysia have got the highest among the other countries. And we've got the top 2 spot with 5.6 score, weighted score. Not bad, right? Compared to other ASEAN countries like Indonesia with 2.5 rating, and Vietnam with 4.6, with Thailand with 4.8. What are the interpretation of this? So they've actually got the highest score here. Vietnam got the highest score in the regulatory environment, so meaning they've got dedicated body with TNE remit, TNE host strategy, and TNE incentives. They're good at it. While in this criteria, establishment of TNE operations score, Malaysia got the highest with 8.8 rating, which means that among the setting up of foreign institutions, inbound TNE programs, clarity of regulations, and academic visas, they are better compared to other countries in terms of this criteria. Still, Malaysia got the highest rating in the quality assurance and accreditation. And it is very alarming to say and to observe that Indonesia and Vietnam get 0 mark in the recognition of TNE qualifications. So this is an important data that is worth knowing. If we would like to look for a country where we would like to study, to become partner with, we could consider one of these. Now we have here the HEI's autonomy in the Philippines and selected ASEAN, where we have here blue represents the presence of foreign higher education institutions, green with institutional autonomy to determine tuition fees, and red as home HEIs present overseas. So we've got the highest for the presence of foreign HEIs. You have Malaysia and Thailand, meaning they've got in their countries a lot of foreign higher education institutions. And that's very nice. While we have no foreign HEIs in the Philippines. Now, when we would like to compare the autonomy in determining tuition fee, obviously, we've got almost the same rating for the 5 countries. So, meaning, she still got this autonomy in determining fees for their students. Now, for the red category about the HEIs present overseas, at least Philippines have it compared to Vietnam and Thailand, where they fail to have home HEIs present overseas. Now we have here the table for the National IHE Policy Evaluation Framework adapted from British Council in year 2010. Global Gauge. The National Strategy in IHE into institutional autonomy, openness to international students and academics, and focusing on the overall weighted score. Malaysia still got the highest with 7.8 compared to the lowest Vietnam with 4.52. At least Thailand is 6.3 and Philippines is not that bad. Our rating is 5.07. So if you're gonna rank this, it is, for simplicity, an indicative score of 10 indicates that the criteria are fully met, while 5 means partially met, and 0 if further development is needed. Generally, the Philippines compares favorably with ASEAN peers. Malaysia ranks high because of its well-defined international strategy. If you've noticed here, they've got 10 ratings and with a weighted score of 25, 25, 2.5. They've got 10 here also in overseas network or bilateral or multilateral agreements for international collaboration is with specific targets and deadlines, no? That's what we're trying to say. In addition, it has established a network of overseas offices to support its higher education institutions, and that's a very important consideration. That's why they've got the highest rating. Now, which road to take? There are major opportunities and risks for the Philippines in a growing ASEAN region, and these provide paths for the development of the country's IHI roadmap and strategy. Seizing these opportunities comes with significant challenges, mainly in terms of legislative and regulatory frameworks, which needs to be simplified in order to provide a more supportive environment for HEIs and in turn for the Philippines to grow as a region education hub in ASEAN. The future of the country's IHI sector will largely be determined by the path it will take, coupled with the scale of its ambition and level of commitment to achieve this goal. So basically, everything depends the success implementation of TNE in international higher educations or in the regional education hub in ASEAN depends on the level of commitment that we will have, our level of ambition, and our action to take this to when it comes to legislative and administrative powers for a successful implementation of this program. So that's all for my report. I hope you have learned something today about the challenges, opportunities, and trends in TNE and internalization. And as a student, somehow, I hope that our countries will improve in terms of the implementation of these and in return help in building our nation, our economy to be particular. Having this knowledge-based economy, investing in knowledge, sending our citizens to other countries to study. That's the main point here. We are presented with challenges and opportunities. And from these challenges, from these issues, Hopefully, they will be addressed for us to be better, for our country to be better. And these studies that I've presented are just examples of the several studies in the field that you could actually search on. If you would like to dig deeper and you are interested, and even you yourself would like to become a TNE student, a beneficiary, you can go for it and search it in different search engines. That's it. Thank you, everyone.